Good morning. Welcome to this short session, this short discussion being organised by the Birmingham Consular Association. My name is Keith Stokes-Smith and I am president of the Birmingham Consular Association. Now, do not be misled by the name of the association, for our reach goes far beyond Birmingham in relation to some of our members. Let me first of all welcome our members. We have with us Ms. Happy Gupton, Consul Community Affairs, Consul General's Office in Birmingham for India. Good morning, Happy. Mr. Jaffer Kapasi, OBE, Consul for Uganda. Welcome, Jaffer. And Mr. Michael Rai, Consul for Belarus and President of the Consular Association in Wales. First of all, Michael and Jaffer are what's known as honorary consuls, which is an unpaid, although it should be paid given the amount of effort and work they do, an unpaid role, whereas Happy is a full-time diplomat with the Consul General's Office in Birmingham. The Birmingham Consular Association is the umbrella body for the diplomatic corps in the Greater Birmingham, indeed Midlands area. There are 25 consuls, diplomats, or indeed retired consuls in the Midlands, with the majority of those being BCA members. The BCA was actually established in 1882, and you can imagine in those days its role was very different to what it is today. But however, at a local level, the BCA remains a very important body, representing at a local level the country to which the individual is appointed, and of course the community of that country. Welcome to us. For those who are not aware we exist, we do exist. We have existed since 1882, and we're here to work with business, with colleges, with educational establishments, with community groups, with local authorities, with the police, social services and many other organisations in the interests of our countries and our communities. So by all means, if you did not know we existed, you do now. We do have a website. If you put into Google or whatever, Birmingham Consular Association, you'll find out more about us there, and we'd be pleased to engage with you and your communities, and indeed on the trade front with your trade organisations. So welcome to our three diplomats here today. And can I first of all turn to Happy? Happy, can you briefly tell us a little bit about your role and the Indian Consul General's Office activities in Birmingham?
Thank you, Keith. I've been posted here for the last 2 years, and my role has mostly been as Consul Community Affairs. So I actively engage with the Indian diaspora here, as well as the other communities, other countries, people, and various organizations which are cultural as well as social organizations. And also I've been in charge of giving out the consular services, which includes visas, passports, and other travel documents. So that's a brief introduction about my role here. Thank you.
Thank you. And of course, we see you quite a lot, either the Consular Association or the Birmingham Commonwealth Association activities representing the Indian Consul General. And thank you for your support of those. And hopefully, similarly, the BCA, both BCAs, of course, Birmingham Commonwealth Association and the Birmingham Consular Association, collaborate and engage with you and partner with you as you would wish. So yes, we do see quite a bit of you, which is very good news. So thank you for your support and for that brief description. Jaffer, can I just ask you, again, a brief description of what you do representing Uganda?
Thanks very much, Keith, for the opportunity, and I'm glad that you've got me involved. And my role, as you know, as you mentioned quite rightly, is voluntary. But what I do at the moment is I represent the High Commissioner in the Midlands, and I get involved in issues of trade, education, and any of the commercial activity which we need to do with Uganda, and obviously which will mainly to promote trade between the two countries. But I also get involved in the aspects of charities. For example, we recently raised funds for the PPE equipment for hospital in Uganda in a place called Masindi Hospital, northwest of Uganda, with the help of a hospital in Birmingham. So these are the links which we established, but I'll give you just one example. But other roles include the visit of the High Commissioner to Leicester, which we organized a couple of years back, also last year, also to Birmingham. And I'm in the process of organizing a meeting with the Hull University, meeting with the High Commissioner, including a meeting with the President of Uganda when he comes here at least once a year when he attends the UN conference in September. The other roles include, signposting, talking to businesses here to promote trade, regular meetings with businesses here who want information, who want to actually have links with Ugandan people. That's what my role is at the moment. Keeps me quite busy. I attend events which you kindly organize and invite me in, which are very high profile and very well organized events which I do participate in.
Thank you for that, Jap. And just to remind those listening, of course, effectively, yes, the local consuls and High Commission officers or consul generals are a satellite, effectively, of the embassy or High Commission in London. Some of them do not have consuls outside London or necessarily in the Midlands, but say 23 have, and we are effectively their satellite office working with our embassies or High Commissions at a local level, which is actually very advantageous to all those at the local level, be it business, universities or communities, to have somebody on the doorstep to help and support them. And it makes it more productive for the embassy or High Commission to achieve the things it wants to achieve by having people, representatives beyond London. So that's just a reminder of what we do. And again, I think if you look at our website, there's more information on there about what consuls, diplomats do, particularly honorary consuls, and their responsibilities. Michael, can I ask you to let us know, of course, in your case, you've got two hats. You're president of the Consular Association of Wales, which probably is quite a big job, and also the consul for Belarus in Wales and the West Midlands.
Yeah, it's quite an intense role, but one that I enjoy. But talking about duties that I'm sort of involved in, obviously we're looking at the protection of interest of Belarus and its nationals, and to assist them wherever possible. I think foster friendly mutual benefit relations between Belarus, the Midlands and other areas outside of London. I'm called on, possibly that could be through tourism, trade, investment, with a primary focus on areas of interest. I also sort of visit nationals who have been arrested or incarcerated and make notification as required. And I'm very lucky because under Belarus, we don't have any of those problems. I meet regularly with the devolved government people here in Wales, but also across the UK to explain Belarus' interests and to assist them in obtaining information on policy and protocol. I perform other functions as designated by the government of Belarus, including provision, diplomatic representation at bilateral or international events. It's quite a handful, but like all my colleagues, we adapt with the situation.
Yes, well, as you say, quite a handful there. Can I put it to, what are some of the highlights, do you think, Michael, of your work whilst you've been there, the consul, or indeed the president of the association in Wales?
Well, I must admit, it's a very good question. Being an honorary consul, there's no hard and fast line between the various areas of focus. I think work done in one area often brings benefit in another. And working together as honorary consuls, there is strength in unity. So that if you are talking to various powerhouses, or you can say, no, this is what Slovakia wants, this is what Thailand want. This is what Uganda wants. This is what we can offer you. Let's sit down and talk together. Times are changing, and we have to adapt with that change so that we can go back to our countries and say, no, this is what is happening here. This is an avenue opening up, which I think would be a benefit not only to the UK, but our countries as well.
No, I agree. And of course, as BCA members, we are all generally invited to each other's special occasions,
Of course.
and particularly those countries which have Independence Days, Commonwealth countries which have independence events, which we're often invited to, which is great for networking. And we do work together as colleagues for our mutual benefit, of course. And again, the BCA has, until recently with COVID, of course, started to organise an annual VIP dinner. The intention was to have two where we invite half a dozen VIPs in Greater Birmingham generally for lunch or dinner, which is good again for networking and making people aware what we do, etc. Sadly, the one for this year was cancelled, but in the past, some of our guests have been the Chief Constable of West Midlands Police, Dave Thompson, who of course we now have, as a result of that, a presentation with him every September, where a number of his colleagues join us at Lloyd House, and we learn about the issues affecting overseas nationals and try and work with them to assist them where we can. And of course, I engage on our behalf with the Cabinet Member for Cohesion and Equalities at Birmingham City Council. Also, we have, as I say, the Independence Day events, which we're invited to, and occasionally talks and visits. So as an association, we try to be quite active, but again, of course, we're all volunteers, and we're all very busy people. Jaffa, your thoughts on anything in particular whilst you've been the consul, which you can recall with some degree of extra delight and pleasure, or quite the opposite, you recall, but for the opposite reason?
No, thanks very much. Yes, I think some of the highlights I mentioned is the visit of the High Commissioner, which obviously helps create confidence, both for people or businesses who want to invest in Uganda, and vice versa. But some of the highlights is Lord Dollar Poppert actually was appointed by Prime Minister Cameron as his trade envoy to Uganda and Rwanda. And he wanted to build a hospital, or a children's hospital, where he was born. And I was catalyst in organizing a meeting with the University Hospitals of Leicestershire, and this hospital in the eastern Uganda, where actually the building of the hospital is complete, and there have been exchanges of professionals between the University Hospitals of Leicestershire and the hospitals in Uganda. Some of the other highlights have been, for example, organizing health seminars, which through a colleague of mine, Moses Mulimura, who organizes this very high level context through the UK and also in Uganda. In fact, I was catalyzing organizing a meeting between the past Consul General of India for a health seminar, which was held at the Birmingham University, where the whole delegation participated, again, to exchange information technology, the know-how, between on the health issues, which again, Uganda desperately needs services, especially in the rural areas. See, the role actually it keeps going on and on. I mean, I recently appointed a company to market Ugandan Waragi, which is a sort of a gin which is produced in Uganda, made of bananas.
A gin?
Made out of bananas. This is a gin.
Right.
Uganda Waragi. We appointed to do that. So it takes place, and we're involved directly or indirectly. Also, I did mention earlier about the PPE equipment for our hospital in northwest Uganda, and in fact, previously we had arranged for sports equipment to be shipped to parts of Uganda where there are not even footballs to play with. So they're ongoing, but it was on. Yes, in some parts of northwest and northeast Uganda, children haven't got balls to play with. So we organize a community here.
Of course.
Anything to do with cricket, football, all those equipment, tennis equipment to be sent to Uganda on a free basis.
Gosh, well done. Well, if I can cut you short there, Jaffa, and go on to Happy. Just mention, of course, Michael, Belarus, of course, is sadly not a country which features too often in our news here. And in fact, we don't cover enough world news, in my opinion. But of course, Belarus has been on the television of late, so everybody now knows where Belarus is, etc. But I'm sure not in the way you would have wanted it to be on the news. And similarly with India, of course, COVID has impacted India very badly. And India, of course, is one of our one of our major Commonwealth trading nations. I think it's probably near the top 3 in trading from the trading side, albeit I'm sure India are very pleased because its exports to the UK certainly outweigh its imports from the UK. So we have a negative trade balance with India. But it's good to hear that we're actually importing more from India than China, than many other countries. And I'd like to see a big shift of imports from China moving across to India. That would certainly be good news from a Commonwealth point of view. Happy, in your time in Birmingham, are there any highlights or things you'd like to mention, or any disappointments in particular?
Well, I'd like to mention our efforts as a team, the whole Consulate team. There were many highlights, but some of them which have even become prominent in the Birmingham calendar of events, especially the Diwali on the Square, which has become an annual event, and we had quite a tremendous number of footfalls during the event, and God always blessed with sunny weather on that day. So yes, that is one of the events which we jointly organize along with the West Midlands Combined Authority. That is definitely a highlight. We, in the trade part, as Jafarji also mentioned, we have our India-UK Healthcare Conference, and we also organized India-UK Automobile Conference, which is definitely a big step to increase the relationship between India and the UK. And we hope that it will help us to synergize the efforts in the healthcare as well as automobile sector, which Midlands is, has a rich history of this industry. Again, we had major events during the 550th birth anniversary of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. And those events were actually a part for us more or less to connect with our own diaspora over here. And we were able to hold very good events with dignitaries coming from India, especially Mr. Hardeep Puri. He also gave the distinguished lecture in University of Birmingham. The Chief Minister of Punjab, Captain Amrinder Singh, he also came. So that was a proud moment for us where we could hold these big events. And yes, on as Keith, you mentioned that on I'll not say an upsetting or negative scale, but yes, during the recent situation in the past 4 or 5 months, I do believe that can also be counted as a highlight, because we were able to repatriate a number of Indian nationals from UK, which under normal circumstances, no one would have imagined that you would have to do that from a country like UK. And that was an experience in itself for the Consulate. And we are happy that we could do it seamlessly without any major hitches. Yes, think that's about it if we just want to speak about major highlights.
And of course, again, just to remind listeners that that our jobs, in fact, cross a range of areas, which is trade. Yes, we are meant to encourage and work with business, local business general, to encourage more trade with the countries we represent. Indeed, also investment in the countries we represent, and cultural exchanges, and arts and sports, anything really. It's our job to promote our countries and that engagement. But I think particularly trade and investment is a key part of that for many of us. And also, of course, for all of us, and maybe for some of the voluntary colleagues, honorary consuls, we do get perhaps far too many calls or emails from our communities. Depends how many of our community live in the area. But yes, we get them at all times of day and night asking for help. And yes, where we can, if we can, we provide support. Otherwise, I'm afraid it's down to our high commissions or embassies to do that for them. But yes, telephone calls and emails are quite frequent for help. And obviously, Pape, in your situation, you get a lot more of those than probably many of us do, given the number of Indian nationals. And of course, we don't just help those who are still the national of our countries. We also help or engage with those who were former nationals, or their parents were former nationals. So it's not just a case of working with, say, the nationals of our countries. We work with all our nationals, be they now the sons or daughters or grandchildren of former nationals. Michael, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Sorry, I missed that last bit, Keith.
Okay, is there anything else you'd like to add to talk about?
Well, yeah, the role, as I mentioned, of a consul, is honorary consul, is been changing from quite fast over the last few years, and I like to say that we're the key. We're the key that through which we have access to ambassadors, governmental connections. We're always ready to play our part. And I think we also bridge the gap. We help to build goodwill through political avenues, develop business alliances, working with chambers of commerce, education, cultural associations. But I'm surprised at the lack of awareness of our roles by some of the civic authorities and business community. And that can range from powerhouses to CBIs to chambers of commerce. It seems that we are pushing all the time and they are not coming to us. And yet we can open the doors for them. And I do bring this up with colleagues, and they just say, well, you know, perhaps you've got to be a bit more forceful. Well, I'm afraid that doesn't gel with me, because if you're in business, you're looking for avenues to export or import. And our countries are always ready to be involved.
No, I agree with you, Michael, and your point about making us more visible in the public and enhancing our public awareness is very important, and that's something the Birmingham Consular Association has endeavoured to do, particularly with these VIP dinners. But yes, despite that, I think, of course, we probably have to recognise that compared to 1882 or even 1950, communications have advanced quite significantly, and with the advance of Zoom meetings and all the modern technology, you know, it's a bit like people, probably not so many people going and working in their offices post-COVID because of what's happened and technology taking over. I suspect technology to a certain extent has diluted what was required, certainly of the honorary consuls. And you could argue, well, as it's an honorary position, unpaid, unexpensed, that really, in a way that perhaps is good, but at the same time, of course, the 1963 convention for consular relations still requires the likes of honorary consuls to do carry out the responsibilities required of them. And that can be quite frustrating, where you're required to carry out these responsibilities but those who are meant to be engaging and collaborating and partnering with you to do that are not even aware you're out there. You're there to do it. But that's something. That's where the association in Wales, and indeed the Birmingham Consular Association, are aiming, like you, to make a difference. And yeah, it is it's a challenge, but that's what we're in quotes employed to do with the help of our embassies or high commissions and indeed the countries we represent.
I mean, you know, I think we have to remember that ambassadors and consul staff change every 3, 5, and it's sometimes 7 years.
Yes.
But, you know, we're constant. That's why I say we're the key.
Yes.
We know our regions. We know where to, when we arrange ambassador visits, we try to arrange for the right companies that we think are going to be, we can do business with. As you say, you know, we're not paid, not because we're worthless, but because we're priceless, because of all our connections.
Yes.
We're constant. I mean, I have a change of ambassador now, and we're already trying to line up a meeting where I can go and give them a full briefing of what I do. But I've been connected to Belarus for 25 years. I've been honorary consul for 14. And I've traveled the length and breadth of the UK. It's not, you know, we don't get paid, but it's an honor to represent a country. And if you do that, then you are duty bound to carry it out to the best of your ability.
No, I totally agree. And when you said that we are priceless, I think what you actually meant, even £1 million would be not enough.
No, not for the calls that you get, not for the it can. You've got to be careful. You'll have to try to adjust, but it can take over.
It can, yes, I agree. Jaffa, any final comments from you?
Yes, I think BC here has done a tremendous job in being a catalyst in bringing all of us together. I mean, I've never imagined so many degrees exist in Birmingham. So it's really very enlightening to see how BC engages with so many and brings together. I mean, you know, that is one of the fundamental factors in making sure that we actually trade amongst ourselves as well. It's very important. Commonwealth as well is activated out, you know, since the Brexit is just around the corner from us now. So,
yes.
I mean, it's a really great platform, you know, to dialogue, to deal with, to engage with so many different countries in so many different ways. And it's really a privilege to be a consulate, you know. Obviously, as I say, this is a voluntary position, but something to give back to the community where we were born and we live now. So it's just a win-win situation, and BCA does a tremendous.
No, I agree. We're trying to be as proactive as we can, but of course, as we all know in life, it's finding doers very often to do things, and everybody's so busy. So, and particularly many, certainly honorary consuls are actually employed. They've got full-time jobs, and certainly in the full-time, in happiest case, of course, colleagues there do have full-time jobs. So for them to find time to do extra, but presumably like the Welsh Association, which of course has a slight benefit over the Birmingham one, because in Wales you've got your own local government and you report, you engage directly with the Welsh Assembly. In Greater Birmingham or even the Midlands, we don't engage with anybody like that. We engage with central government, but we don't, so to speak. So Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland, I've always made clear to the Lithuanian embassy, have a slight advantage of being able to engage with their local assemblies, etc. Happy, any closing comments from you?
Thank you, Keith. I'd like to say that it was a wonderful experience when we used to meet all the consulars, the honorary consul, and all of us. We used to meet and discuss things which were mutually beneficial for us. And even the meeting with the West Midlands Police, There are certain things when we are working in silos, we don't understand. But when everybody brings forth their own issues, it's really helpful. And I wish that this relationship continues and we are able to do better events, better things, and synergize this relationship. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I'm just checking we've got waiting for any questions externally for people to put to us. With any coming in. I think whatever has come in, I've tried to pick up on already. So unless anybody's got any further questions who's listening in, I'm going to wrap up our session now. Thank you, Happy. Thank you, Jaffa and Michael, for joining us today and giving up some of your bank holiday weekend. And I look forward to seeing you in person, and the BCA looks forward to seeing you in person. And just to remind those who are listening in, yes, if you want to find out more about what the Diplomatic Corps in Midlands do, go to the Birmingham Consular Association website, and there's more about us there, and it even tells you who the 24 diplomats are, and therefore you know whether you're represented or not, and can engage with them. So thank you to you again. Have a good rest of the weekend. And Jaffa, I know you're presenting again on Monday, so I hope that goes okay. Yeah, thank you for your time and engagement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, all the best.
Bye all. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good day.